Hey everyone, welcome to CloudChamp. In this video, I'll be showing you how you can connect your AWS account with Terraform to start creating resources on your AWS cloud using Terraform, the infrastructure as code tool. Let's start. Before we move ahead and start learning how to connect AWS with Terraform, you need to know there are three ways to access AWS services and create them. First one is AWS Management Console, which is a graphical user interface that lets you click on the services and create them. You can log into your AWS console using email address and password or username and password if it is an IAM account. The second way to access AWS service is using AWS SDK or Software and Development Kit, where you use different programming languages to create resources on AWS. One of the examples is the Boto3 module, which is Python SDK to create resources on AWS. And I've shown how to use Boto3 to create resources in this DevOps project. Go check it out. So if you want to create resources using SDK, you need to use access key and secret access key. The third option to access AWS services is using CLI or Command Line Interface tool by AWS that lets you create services using commands. And if you want to connect your AWS with Terraform, you need to log in using AWS CLI. You can log into AWS CLI using the same access key and secret access key. So in this video, I'm showing you how you can create keys and then use them to connect AWS with Terraform. Let's go to our computer screen. Alright, so I'm here on my computer screen and let's start with learning how to connect AWS account with Terraform. We have already seen three different ways on how you can create resources on AWS using Management Console, using CDK or SDK, which requires access key and secret access key. Also using CLI, which requires access key and secret access key as well. So prerequisites for you before you start with watching this video is to have an AWS account. And if you don't have an account, you can go on AWS free tier and create an account here for free. So to create services on AWS and to connect it with Terraform, you will obviously need to have an account. So you can go and create an account. I have a video on how you can create AWS account. You can go check it out. The link is going to be up there. Second thing you need to have is to have AWS CLI installed. Install AWS CLI from the link below, but you can just search for AWS CLI and click on this documentation, which has all the commands and explanation on how you can install it in Windows, in Linux, or in macOS. So I do have AWS CLI to show you. I'm going to open my terminal and run the command AWS --version, which shows me that AWS CLI is installed and it is 2.9.8. You can use this documentation. The link is going to be in the description to install it. We will require this connect with Terraform. So you need to install this. And lastly, you also need to have Terraform installed. And you can install Terraform from the official documentation. So you can install Terraform on macOS, on Windows, on Linux, on FreeBSD, OpenBSD, any operating system you have. I have it installed and I can confirm it by just running Terraform, and you can see all the different commands, which means Terraform is installed. Or I can also run Terraform version command to show you that Terraform is version 1.3.2. So once this is done, you can then start with the actual process of connecting your AWS with Terraform. So once you have your AWS account ready, go ahead and log into your account. So I'm going to log in with my IAM account. And you can see when you log in with your AWS, you need to put your username and password or email ID or password if you're using root user. You can log in with either root user or with IAM user. The process is going to be the same. So let's start. I'm going to log in with this Nasi user and put my password as well. Now you can see I'm inside my AWS console. I'm logged in as a Nasi user. And if I want to create keys, I can just go and click on security credentials. I will have an option to create access keys and secret access keys in my IAM dashboard. So when I click on security credentials, it takes me to IAM service. And if you see here below, you will have an option to create access keys. And it says use access key to send programmatic calls to AWS from CLI, from PowerShell, from SDKs, direct API calls, and also Terraform, Ansible, and other DevOps tools, which requires you to have secret access keys and access keys. So if I want to create for the same user, I can go and click on create access keys. And I can choose the options, and I'm going to click on yes, I understand, and then click on next. Once I click on next, I can give this value. So let's say Terraform keys and create access keys. This is when you're logged in with the user. Let's say you don't have a user created. Then I'm going to show you how you can do that. So let's go and create a user for yourself. And remember, whenever you're creating a user, you need to give them proper permissions. Let's say with Terraform, you're going to create EC2 instances. Then you need to make sure that the user you're creating should have EC2 access. If you're creating S3 buckets, you need to make sure that the user has S3 access as well. If you're creating RDS as well, you need to give RDS access too. So to make things simple, either you can give it admin access or you can give the permissions which you require. So I'm going to say Terraform user. The name of the user is Terraform user here. And I want this user to have access to console as well. And I want to create an IAM user. So you can choose to give alternative password. Or you can guess the custom password. Let me give you a custom password here. Okay. Now I've done this. I don't want the user to change the password. Next, I'm going to say to add some permissions, and I'm going to attach policies directly. As I said, if you're using Terraform to create EC2 instances, make sure the user has EC2 access. so that when you use the keys, it should not give you access denied or any other problem. So to make things simple, I'm going to give all access, which is by giving administrator access. And you can see this policy, it says, allow all actions, the star means all, on all resources. This means when using the keys from this user, I will be able to access everything and can create everything in Terraform after it is connected to AWS. So now I'm going to click on next option here and then create this user. So let's go and sign in. I'm going to open my incognito window and copy this link. You can also save it by downloading this CSV file so that you don't miss the login. This is login through console. Remember, this is login through console, not through CLI. I'm going to show you how you can do it after you create the keys. So now I'm going to put the username, which is Terraform user. I can directly paste it here and put the password as well, which is here. Once I put this, I can click on sign in and it should take me inside the console. And now I can easily create keys by just clicking on the name and then security credentials option here. So let's click on the name, security credentials, and it will take me to IAM dashboard where I can create my keys. And you can see below, you will have access keys. I'm going to click on create access keys and I want to choose CLI, or you can choose any other option, but you need to make sure that you say I understand and click on next option here, give a tag, which is optional. So I'm going to say Terraform keys or anything, and then click on create access keys. Once I click on this, I will have an access key and secret access key, which I can save in CSV file. You can then use this to connect to your AWS. Let me show you how. I'm going to create a new directory. I'm going to say mkdir Terraform AWS connection. Let's open this in VS Code. You want to use AWS with Terraform. You need to use AWS provider in your Terraform. And to use the provider, as I've already mentioned in previous videos, you need to click here and choose this block. And you need to put some configuration options. In the documentation, you'll be able to see what parameters you can put inside this provider. And let's scroll down to see. This is how you can define a provider by defining region access key and secret access key. So I'm going to create a file, name it provider.tf, and paste this thing here. So we're using a provider named as AWS, and we need to put region, and we need to put access key and secret access key that we created here on this page to connect your AWS with Terraform. But if you see here, Terraform says hard coding credentials are not recommended in any Terraform configurations, which means you should never hard code it. And if you push this hard coded thing in GitHub, obviously people can access it and they will log into your account. But even if you push it, Git is very intelligent, so it's going to check and terminate your account. So you will not be able to use your account. So make sure you're never storing your keys in Terraform and pushing it to GitHub. So let's go and put the thing here. So I'm going to choose region as US West 2. And I'm going to put my access key here first. This is my access key. I'm putting it here. And then I need to put my secret access key also. And all right, we have our access key and secret access key here. Even though Terraform says it's a bad practice, you can still use it. I'll be showing you what is the best practice to use it. But for now, let me show you and try to see if we are able to connect and create resources or not. And to do that, I'm going to create a new file, name it main.tf. Inside this, I'm going to create a resource, AWS _S3 bucket. And you can use the Terraform official documentation, which is this one. The link is going to be description to create a bucket. I've also shown how to create a bucket in the previous video, so you can also check that. So I'm going to say my bucket as a name for Terraform reference. And inside this, I'm going to pass an attribute naming as bucket. Let's name this as test Terraform AWS connection bucket. The name can be anything, but it should be unique because S3 wants you to have unique name. I now need to run some Terraform commands. And if it is connected successfully, I should be able to see a bucket named as this inside my console. You can see there is no bucket with that name, and I'm able to see the buckets only because this user has access to it. So make sure whenever you create a user, you should have access to whatever resource you are trying to create in Terraform. So first command I'm going to run is Terraform init command to make sure that it downloads everything required for this AWS provider to run. So I'm going to say Terraform init, and it will start installing provider plugins. So you can see 5.9.0 version is going to be installed now. And once it is installed, then we can run the Terraform plan command, apply command to have this resource created in the account if everything is fine and everything is connected properly. So let's wait for this to be done. All right, so the init has been done, and then you can read the message which says Terraform has been successfully initialized. You may now run this Terraform plan. And so let's run Terraform plan to see if it is going to be creating something or not. So when I run Terraform plan, if the connection is successful, it should not give us any error. Everything is perfect. It says one thing is going to be created, which is the AWS S3 bucket.mybucket as defined inside here. Let's go and create it by running Terraform apply command -auto -approve. If I run this and it is created, which means Terraform and AWS has been successfully connected. It's in creating state, which means we have successfully connected, but still it is a bad practice for you to store your keys inside it. So let me show you another way you can use it to make sure your access keys are not hard-coded in the code. But let me also show you that the bucket is present here. Let's refresh this page and you can see a Terraform test bucket has been created. This is how you can connect using access keys. Let's try to delete this bucket and use another way to define our access keys. So another way to define is using AWS CLI. So as I've told you to install AWS CLI using this documentation, once you install it, if you want to connect through CLI, you need to run the command AWS Configure, which will ask you to put your access key and secret access key. So when I run this, it asks me to put the access key. So I've already put my access key. This is why this shows here. For you, it might be none or no value here. But let me put my access keys, copy or cut it out and remove this line from here. Save it and put it in my CLI here. Next, I'm going to copy my secret access key because once I press enter after putting my access keys, it is going to ask me for secret access keys. So let me put that here now. And there is going to ask me for region. I can choose to put any region I want, or I can choose to keep it US West 1. The region is going to be used from this section, so no need to worry. So I'm going to also remove this secret access key and save this. Now I'm going to put my region and the format is none, output format. All right. Now, after entering your keys using AWS Configure Command, you can check if the connection has been successfully established by running any command. Let's say AWS IAM list -users, which will tell you all the list of the users if it is connected successfully. So you can see I see all the list of the users: Alex, Ben, John, Kingsley, Nasi, test users, all of it, which means it is connected successfully. Now you can also test this by going to your Terraform. Let's try to change the name of the bucket now. So it is now the same, and run the Terraform plan command again. If it is not correct, it will show you an error. If it is correct, it should show you the plan successfully. So now when I run the plan command, I don't have any bucket with this name. And after I run this, it will be adding it. So let's run Terraform apply command now. Terraform apply -auto -approve. And it is now going to start creating the bucket as well if everything is connected successfully. So this is how you can connect your Terraform with AWS using access key and secret access key. And make sure you're never putting the access keys inside this because it's not a good practice. So you should always use the AWS Configure command and put it there. Or you can use variables.tfvars file. As I've shown in the previous video, you can create tfvars file and put the access keys there rather than finding hard-coded in the code. So you can see it says processes 1 has been created, and you can confirm that by running AWS S3 ls. And you can see that test Terraform bucket is there. And I can also show you this in the console. So let's refresh. And you can see here, this is also created. So this is how you can connect your AWS with Terraform and create resources. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, any doubt, feel free to let me know in the comment section. And also check out the Terraform playlist to learn Terraform from scratch. Thank you and have a good day.